guys, my name is Juliana and I've been barefoot for 3 years with my 2 kids and my husband, and I'd love to share that journey with you. I was a dancer, so my feet were a really big point of focus for me growing up. Is it pointed enough? Am I high enough on point? Was it graceful enough, elongated enough? Did my arch look like the better part of a rainbow? Before my dancing years, I spent my time running barefoot on our farm, in a state of constant grounding, even though I did not know what that meant. So it's at no surprise to me that at age 30, I went into a deep dive on the study of feet when I had my kids, and I came up with some beautiful information. I found out that being barefoot was actually super healthy, not only for adults, but really healthy for children and their feet that are starting to develop from the beginning. Being barefoot was something I already naturally did. I hate shoes. I've always hated shoes. Neither one of my kids wore shoes until nearly the age of 2. Despite my husband's best efforts to keep the wildlife and the earth outside, we come in and out of the house barefoot all the time. We are realistically never wearing shoes. Yes, we have to wash our feet more often than the average Joe, and our nail beds are permanently embedded with dirt from our garden, but not wearing shoes feels right. The most shocking research I came into contact with was about children's developing feet. Pediatric orthopedist Lynn Stolle, hopefully I'm saying that right, MD, wrote in the Journal of Pediatrics that optimum foot development occurs in the barefoot environment. Let's say that again. Optimum foot development occurs in a barefoot environment. I'm gonna read you guys a quote that she wrote. It says, "Perhaps the most offensive aspect of the footwear industry is the harm it deliberately inflicts upon unsuspecting children by encouraging them to wear bad shoes. Between the twin forces of television and parenting encouragement, little Johnny and Jill are defensiveless, in particular, the potential damage to the young developing body and brain, and this could be a primary cause of physical imbalances, injury, and disability when they become adults." It was evident in Dr. Stah's article that shoe companies in 1991 were already heavily marketing unhealthy children's shoes, playing on the parents' emotions and those of the older children for today. Today, shoe companies continue to use clever million-dollar advertising campaigns to encourage kids to ask for and parents to buy harmful shoes. And it's obviously successful. The children's footwear industry generates over $5 billion annually, where products are made for cuteness and style rather than function. What's the best shoe for your child, you might ask? None. Barefoot is best and nothing comes close. There's a ton of research that actually backs this. To quote Dr. Stolle, what is the best shoe for your child? None. Barefoot is best and nothing comes close. Children should be barefoot most, if not all the time. This provides the optimal stimulation of the foot by the ground, which helps train the brain for proper gait and other natural movement that children require from the start. When a shoe becomes absolutely necessary, Dr. Stah says it should be lightweight, flexible, shaped more or less like a real foot, and should not have arch support and stiff sides. During the first year following the acquisition of independent walking, most of the child's gait activity, in particular the neurological memories, the communication between brain and body, become well established. During this time, if your feet are not allowed to develop well, gait and imbalance disorders begin to occur. In many children, these irregularities are often subtle, the clumsy kid, and various neurological imbalances anywhere in the body, including those associated with eye movement. This article has so much more meat, and I'll link it down below so you can read it yourself, because it's very vast, and you should read Dr. Stolle, or however else you say her name. You should read her words for yourself, because it's really a beautiful article where she goes in depth and explains everything. I have seen this in my own life. We went barefoot for the last 3 years, which is one of my children's entire shoe journey, and also my other child hadn't really worn many shoes, so it's pretty much their entire shoe journey as well. And I will tell you what has changed for us. Obviously, I'm someone who already enjoyed having bare feet, or just, you know, no shoes, putting on socks, whatever. For me, the effects that some people see on the entire body weren't very prominent in my journey, and I think that has to do with the fact that I did genuinely not like to wear shoes very often, especially growing up on a farm, and I was constantly grounding, running in the mud, the fields, whatever, with no shoes. And I think that has a giant role in the effects that I saw in this last 3-year journey. But let me tell you what I did see. I went ahead and switched from my Adidas, which I loved. I think they're so cute. I really like a nice clean white pair of shoes. Just like anyone else, I like the look of shoes. I think that shoes are beautiful, especially like some of these high heels. And of course, like for my wedding, I had the most beautiful sparkly Toms. They were like a rose gold sparkle, and they don't make them anymore, but they were like beautiful. And I don't think that my outfit or my husband's outfit would have looked the same and gotten the same effect in all the photos and whatnot without shoes. So I'm not saying that I don't play in the fact that shoes can look really great and they're really kind of fun to dress up different outfits. That is not something I'm ignorant to. I actually enjoy a beautiful pair of shoes. But I did switch from my Adidas to barefoot shoes, which can look a little funky, okay? Especially when you're wearing like this beautiful flowy dress and barefoot shoes. But realistically, here's what we attempted to do. I attempted to be barefoot as much as possible, which is really easy for me. Like I said, I like being barefoot. And so I was barefoot in those skirts and dresses, and that was great. And then I wore my barefoot shoes with my jeans or whatnot if I had to go to work. Obviously, I have to wear shoes at work, although I have been talking to some of my coworkers, and we were all talking about the fact that when we're standing in one spot for a long time at work, we really all are like, I just want to take off my shoes and like relax and like not be standing here. Obviously we wouldn't do that in the work environment, but it is something that we do think about, and we are uncomfortable just standing in shoes all day. And so I think that that is something maybe culturally that we could change, but having barefoot shoes has helped that a lot. And something that I have actually seen is switching from my Adidas to barefoot shoes. It took over a year, but my feet actually completely changed shape. 100%, to the point where I can't even put my feet in the Adidas shoes. And I have like video clips and whatnot that I will stick in here for you. Pretty much, I just realistically could not put my foot back into a standard shoe. It actually hurt, and it just didn't fit, even one size up. And it's because my foot actually got wider at the very top, and my toes spread out a little bit more. They're not extremely spread out yet. I want to get some toe separators to kind of help that. And they're pretty meshed together. I think that has a lot to do with my point shoe days, but my toes were all like crunched together, and now they're sprawled out, which is really nice and really comfortable. And so I have actually seen a massive change in my shoes. During the beginning of this journey, I actually purchased Vivo barefoot shoes, which I absolutely love. And I think that they have some of the better looking styles out there. And I purchased these shoes. Now, my biggest mistake was buying the more expensive nice brand at the beginning, because within a year, my feet actually didn't even fit those barefoot shoes because I needed to go a size up, right? As my tiny little feet that had been shoved into these small shoes got to relax and spread out a little bit, being more barefoot, not even putting on the barefoot shoes unless I absolutely had to. My foot kind of settled into that more wider, more healthy footprint, if that makes sense, the more healthy widespread foot layout, and I couldn't fit into those Vivo shoes, so I actually had to give them to someone else who could and order a different size. So I had to go up a size, which is something to be careful when you're starting that journey. You might want to start with a more affordable pair of barefoot shoes, just so that you know, you can get the nicer pair later on when they actually are generally gonna fit. And so I think I'm at a place where my feet aren't really gonna spread out more. Maybe my foot graph will spread out a little bit more, my placement of my toes. But I think that realistically one size bigger is gonna be all that I need. And when you say your foot's one size bigger, a lot of people may freak out, but it's realistically not like bigger, it's just relaxed. Like your feet have finally relaxed and gone back to the shape instead of being in those small pointy shoes all of the time. Now, something that I have noticed between both of my children, one of my children have only ever been barefoot or in barefoot shoes their entire life. They've never been shoved into those small shoes. And then one of my children, even though I delayed the wearing of shoes, I put them in standard shoes. Obviously, I didn't have the research then. I put my oldest child in some just standard, I think Walmart or Target shoes, like just some standard kids shoes. And I got the more flexible ones because that just felt more comfortable for my children. I'm always in I'm always in the camp of like putting comfortable clothes on my children. I don't do jeans or anything stiff. I just don't think that that is healthy for their little developing bodies. And so I've never done that, but I did put her in standard shoes. And I have realized if my two kids sit with their feet side by side, the one who has had barefoot shoes their entire life, their foot is literally the most beautiful foot, which sounds weird, but it is. Like, it's what I aspire to have as a foot. It's like perfectly shaped and spread out, so it's not kind of working out those kinks. Whereas my other child, obviously she still has great cute little feet, but she has had to adapt like my feet did from those crazy shoes that we had that are absolutely ridiculous. Once you start wearing barefoot shoes, you realize like those shoes are absolutely ridiculous. I can't believe that I wore point shoes and those tighter shoes and like high heels. I wore high heels all the time, and I literally likely will not wear high heel shoes again. A massive part of this barefoot study, especially for children, but for adults as well, is that our feet have 26 bones, 30 joints, 100 muscles, tendons, and ligaments, and thousands of nerve endings. And something that I have been looking a little closer into, and I haven't settled on if it's fact or not, is there are research pages that say that even socks can affect with children's developing feet, also adults, but mostly the child's feet, that are all of those nerve endings in their feet. They're there for a purpose, to connect with the ground and the earth and to help all of the parts of the body from the feet up to the brain. Obviously the brain signals everything for the body, and the feet and the brain work really close together, and all of those nerve endings are supposed to be like stepping on the actual ground and sending signals to the brain about what's going on and all of that fun stuff. I'm doing more research into that, and I would love to deep dive into that at some point when I'm more knowledgeable about it. But it does make perfect sense to me that we have all these nerve endings in our hands and our feet for a reason. I think the most shocking thing for me is my foot size, and just like how drastically the shape of my foot has changed, and how no other part of my body, if I wear things that are too tight or something, have changed in a drastic way as the foot has. And I think that it's something that we need to push back on with these shoe companies, because they should be making shoes that look like cute and fun that you could wear to places like weddings and whatnot, that are not harming our feet. And I think that we allow these shoe companies, because we like the beauty of shoes and how they pull together an outfit, and we're allowing them to create these unsafe shoes that are actually not good for our body at all. And I think that the research really needs to be pushed out there on this subject, because it is very beautiful. I could sit down for hours and talk about it, but I will link as much as I can of my favorites down below so that you can do the research if you would like. Something I did want to share that was about Chinese reflexology. There's been studies that applying pressure on certain parts, obviously you've probably seen it, of the feet and hands, like the reflexology, actually can help reduce stress, ease anxiety, help with fatigue, and lower people's blood pressure just by like pressure points and all of that. And I experimented a little bit with that as well. When I was pregnant with one of my children, I actually did what is it called? Why am I blanking? I actually tried acupuncture when I was pregnant with my first, and it was really useful in helping my body relax. And I actually had an extremely quick labor and delivery with that child. And I think between the chiropractor and the acupuncture, it really just helped my body like be in perfect align and at ease, right? Hit those pressure points. So just kind of like release any tension in certain areas so that my body could do what it needed to do properly. So I do believe that there's a lot of pressure points in the hands and the feet and the whole body essentially. And so the idea is that this reduces stress, anxiety, all of these things by pushing on certain, just pushing simply, or massaging different pressure points on the feet. And there is a research article. I want to see if I can, I'll look for it because I don't know that I still have it. I just read it on a whim. But there's research that possibly not having shoes on would possibly press walking barefoot, like not having shoes on or socks, would likely press on those pressure points throughout the day and actually reduce stress and anxiety, which is something that I think that in our country we really need. I think people are very stressed and they carry a lot of responsibility these days, and it's a lot. And so if we had that constant stimulation of those pressure points that was actually reducing like fatigue, anxiety, then I think we'd see a lower consumption of caffeine. I think that we'd see, and that itself, don't get me started, would actually reduce anxiety, because I am positive that caffeine actually ups anxiety. But that's another story for another time. But those things I think would actually be very remedy, and I'd love to research that more. But I definitely wanted to share this with you guys, that in the last 3 years, even my husband, who's not really fond of the whole barefoot lifestyle, he's actually switched his shoes. It's hilarious. I bought him a pair of barefoot shoes, and it was just kind of like a cheap knockoff from Amazon, and they actually turned out really good. Like, they're a good solid pair of barefoot shoes. But the other shoes now actually hurt his feet, and so he switched almost entirely to barefoot shoes, and he likes bike riding and whatnot and working out in those barefoot shoes instead of in his other shoes, because they actually hurt his feet after switching to barefoot shoes and his feet relaxing and going towards that more barefoot style. And so he's seen his huge significance, even though he is not jumped into the being barefoot all the time lifestyle. He did change his shoes to barefoot shoes, and he loves it. And now my parents wear barefoot shoes, both of my parents, which has helped a lot with a lot of things that happen when you start getting to an older age. It's helped ease a lot of those ailments, and I think that this is a place where we should extend a lot more research, and that everyone should do their own research and see if it fits well for them. But it's been a huge blessing for our family, and I don't know that we'll ever go back to regular shoes, because I think that it is a huge health benefit to our family now. And it's also a great excuse for me to be barefoot all the time. And I think that we should change things. Obviously, you're not going to want to stand on concrete barefoot all the time, and there's going to not really be socially acceptable moments to be barefoot. But that doesn't mean at the park, where there's a safe space for you and your children to be barefoot, that you don't take off your shoes and you dance at the park barefoot. Why not? Check it out. Make sure there's nothing that could harm you or your kids, and take off your shoes and dance in the park and feel the cold concrete or the cold grass, or just feel the earth beneath you and dance at the park. I guarantee that if you start taking those little moments and just taking off your shoes whenever you have the chance, that it will literally change the game for you. Comment down below any questions or comments that you have for me. I would love to answer them. I answer every single comment I have ever gotten, and I'll see you next time. Bye guys.